right. Happy Monday, family. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you all for joining us again for podcast number 20. I don't even remember, Tyrone, at this point.
It's just
27,
28.
28 weeks. So, family, we want to thank you for your support and continuing to chime in with your questions, your comments, your feedback. Thank you so much. Tyrone, I just said last week that the show could not get any better. Didn't I just say that to you and the family
You
last
said
week?
that.
And I was wrong because once again, we have just exceeded our own expectations. Today, family, we have the astute, unbelievable, amazing, community-oriented, revolutionary Principal Monique Debi from Fort Worthington Elementary Middle School. Ma'am, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on, Rich.
Absolutely. We're so excited about it. But family, as we always do, well, first of all, Tyrone, I'm happy that we don't have to do a moment of silence this week. So
Yeah,
I'm very
right.
grateful to that.
Considering what's been going on, absolutely.
Absolutely. And I want to say this real quick. Family that's out there in Baltimore and whoever's watching us throughout it, continue to peacefully and intelligently protest this brutality and injustice throughout the country. You're doing a wonderful job, especially young people who are out there really risking life and limb. Continue to fight. All of us appreciate you. Okay, so we're going to go with our connection question. Tyrone, I'm coming to you second. I'm going to let our guests go first. The question is, family, and we want your information also in the chat. What book are you reading now? Or what book do you recommend to someone else? All right. Go ahead, Mr. Bob. What you got?
Hello, everyone. So the book that I'm actually listening to right now on my Audible app is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F for a Letter. And it's just really helped me with grounding myself and my emotions in this space and what we've been faced with during the coronavirus. A book that I would recommend. So there's a book I would recommend for you, right? But today I was in a coaching session and my coach actually suggested a book titled Switch, How to Change Things When Change is Hard. And excerpts from this book actually says, when you hear people say change is hard because people are lazy or resistant, that's just flat wrong. In fact, the opposite is true. Change is hard because people wear themselves out. And that's the second surprise about change. What looks like laziness is often exhaustion. And, as being a school leader, you're like, oh, I'm training and I'm giving, professional development and it's just not moving the needle. Folks are tired. Now, and I'm not going to allude to this. Check that book out next.
Well, thank you. Already, Tyrone, nuggets already. Last week we had nuggets throughout the show from the Aquaman family, and now Mr. Bob already just giving nuggets off the.
Just starting off already.
Tyrone, what about you, sir? Anything that you're reading now, or anything you would suggest to the family?
Yeah, so I'm actually in between reading a couple books. However, for the family, it's not like I don't have nuggets like Mr. Badu right now with my stuff. However, I will encourage people to y'all know she my favorite. And Patti LaBelle, right? It's not for real. Listen. She have a book that's called Don't Block Your Blessing. And it actually gives like a lot of gems that's come from our ancestors to guide us through now. So she's co-author of the book. I can't think of the other author right now of the book, but that's what it's about. It's about a bunch of gems, and it's not just a straight read, but each page is a different gem with the little story that kind of explains it. And it teaches us about a lot of things and the reason why our ancestors had certain sayings and where they come from in our culture. So it's actually really good. It's really good. Don't sleep on it.
For the record, family, if y'all didn't know, who's behind you in the photograph, Brother Tyrone? Can you? Who is that?
That's Patti LaBelle.
That's Patti LaBelle. Okay. I just want to make sure.
It's a real love.
She's
No question. And well, similarly, speaking of ancestors, ancestry, and just to share some more truth on who we are as a people, y'all need to check this out. Tyrone, I know we got to start our book club, man. I know I'm late. From
I'm on that.
Babylon.
That's one of the books. That's one of the books I'm reading right now.
Yes, From
Yeah.
Babylon to Timbuktu by Dr. Rudolph Windsor. History of ancient Black races, including the Black Hebrews. So, family, get some knowledge. You got a few different selections that you can choose from. We can actually put it in the chat maybe later on, those book choices. All right. So, before we get into the questions for Ms. Debi, I did ask Ms. Debi to extend herself a little bit because I want you all to understand the type of principal approach that she has to not only the school building, but in addressing the needs of the community where she leads Fort Worthington. And that's important. She may be, in my opinion, a singular minded in that the way she approaches things. Not just somebody who is looking at grades and looking at evaluations for teachers and making sure the building is running. She does so much more. And I'm pressing her because she does not like to talk about herself. But Mr. Bai, if you could just give the family some of the things that move you, some of your approaches.
Yeah, definitely. So I am a New Jersey native. However, I've been in Baltimore now for 24 years. So apparently, my New Jersey card has been revoked, and I'm a true. Love my city. I live in a neighborhood where my school is. It's a 4-minute drive to my school. I'm heavily invested in this particular neighborhood in our city. I started my career out as a Baltimore City teaching residency back in 2007. I'm now in my 14th year, and I went into education because education saved my life. So I had more knowledgeable others who ushered me through. And I tell people all the time, I stand on the shoulders of giants. I grew up in Starnes, New Jersey, which was all about village. So the same teachers that taught my mom taught me. Folks would come to your house for dinner. The school was the hub of the community. Our children had access to the arts. They had access to mental health support. They had strong relationships with the adults who they were under their care. And so as I taught me, folks would come to your house. As I journeyed through leadership, I always wanted to ensure that I created this type of environment for students where they felt like home, but their families also felt like it was home. And so our first task, and Rich can attest to this as our dean, I was like, make us a family. Like that's all we need right now. We want to be a family. And our school is a 21st century school, so our children have been in a swing space for 2 years. And if you don't know anything about swing spaces, they are old closed down school buildings where we house our children while the new building is being built. And so there was some things that happened that were less than favorable there for adults and children. And so it was all about healing when we returned to the school. And ensuring that we were liaising with the community. And so I'm a feet to the ground person. I roll up my sleeves and I get with the people. I believe if we do this together, we can change outcomes for children. And so we're knocking on doors. Teachers did a scavenger hunt. They were visiting, some of the elders, the village elders. They visited the barbershop. They went to the senior citizens building, the corner store. They had to find little knickknacks, churches, and just really to break down the barrier. A lot of our parents have had horrible school experiences, and they don't feel welcome. They don't feel like that's their place too. So we wanted to ensure that Fort Worthington was the hub of the community, and that whatever you needed, if we have it, we could help find it. That's really, where I've gone with it. During this pandemic, we ensured that we signed up to be an emergency food site. And so we have grab and go food pantry every Wednesday. We did tech deployment as everybody in the district did, but then we even had to deliver some Chromebooks and stuff to folks and food boxes to folks who were not mobile or who lived a little too far from the school. And so I think because we built that trust and relationship with our families, they're more inclined to say, hey, there's a need, and not feel embarrassed and not feel like anybody's judging them, and knowing that I have a full understanding of what you're experiencing it because I experienced it too as a child. So I think we've done a really, really good job with connecting, and that's really what it's about.
Absolutely, you have. And I was reflecting as you were talking about the deliveries. You yourself made quite a few of those deliveries, and it's just important. And thank you for that. It's important that the family knows that there are heroes that we have right amongst us, who are answering the call every day, even though you may not have heard of them, you may not see them ever on the news. Is a story that should be written about, but uh, with everything else that's happening, it might get swept under the rug. All right, so Mr. Bai, you mentioned COVID, you mentioned this crisis and how you have responded um, to a lot of things that are going on that not only impact our parents and our community, our adults, but also definitely impacts our scholars. Um, so, what kind of things for the summer, as they take a little breather um, from all of this and school finally being over? What kind of things can families do to keep the learning process going?
So even prior to COVID, our teachers and school leaders would always send home summer learning packets or summer learning, summer reading lists, and would encourage, our parents to make sure that they're supporting their children with those types of tasks. Coming out of what we're coming out of, and I mean, we're still very much still in it. I'm really stressing the importance of connection and compassion for our babies.
Mm,
I know people joke a lot, there's some memes and there's like the parent asks, Johnny had 2 apples and Sarah had 2, how many they have? And the kid's like 6. And it's like, if Johnny had 2 apples, Andrea from Aquaban said, put the work away before you harm the child, right?
mm,
Parents, you're not teachers unless you are a teacher. And so we're not expecting you to be able to do something that we all have trained for in universities, right? And gotten certifications for. But what we are expecting is summer learning maintenance. And so
mm,
things that you can do with your child, even little babies, when they're asking questions, why is the sky blue? That's a very good question, Monique. Let's look that up. Everybody's got a smartphone now. Let's Google it together. Things that teach our children the hidden pedagogy, right? How do you advocate for yourself, right? What do you do when you go into the bank? You can teach your children so many things that aren't textbook related during the summer. Also approach learning with fun, approach it with a you can do attitude. We're going to read this book this week, or for 2 weeks if it's a novel for an older child, and actually engage in that reading with your child. Have your child read to you and you process that with them, because that deepens the connection. Children are more inclined to want to learn from folks who they feel are actually invested in it, and that's inclusive of parents.
mm,
I'm a mom of 3. I have an intern 6th grader, an intern ninth grader, and an intern 12th grader this year. And what I realized during our COVID time was that I really didn't know my children. So, I look at their grades and everything, but I really didn't know them. And so we started engaging and learning together. And I'm logging into the Google Classroom with them and trying to see what's going on. So, also taking advantage of the summer learning opportunities that school districts offer. I'm in Baltimore City, and so we have a summer learning resource page on city schools. And if you access the city school site, there is an entire COVID update, summer learning update, and you can search in the search bar. And they have the Shining Star Summer Academy that they're going to have for K-8 students, and then also some credit recovery options for 9th to 12th grade students. But also, carve out that time for like specific skills. So if you're working on math facts or, how to comprehend books with simple who, what, when, where, how, you read the book, talk about the characters. But then how does it relate to your life? And how does it relate to our greater community? And how can you take what you learned in this book and help to address a problem in our community? Because that makes the learning real, and it doesn't seem like school is in silo, because it's really not. It's really connected to everything that we do in life.
mm,
And then also like take that time to talk to your kids about like what they need to know about the world. We're stepping into a new realm of existence. Our existence is changing. What's normal is changing. And how can you prepare your children for that? Have those honest conversations and really put in that time.
mm,
Folks tired. Virtual learning was not easy. And so have fun, but infuse that fun with some learning. And Google is my friend. I Google everything. So if you have access to tech, Google. But then City Schools also has a hotline as well as other local school districts where if you need homework help, if you need resources, you can call that number and I can actually put it in the chat. If you're a city school student, and there is a team of people there to support you with finding those opportunities.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Before we go to Tyrone and the hotline, Mr. Bai, let me just follow up on something you said. You mentioned reading a book, you know, if it's comprehension, if it's a 2-week thing, maybe for a novel, and it struck something with me. I would like you, please, to respond to why it is important to encourage our children to ask questions, and not questions that we as adults have to have the answer to. What can you talk about that a little bit?
So I'm going to cite a study, and I don't know who did the study, but it's been cited in my entire 14-year career as a city schools educator. So when children come to kindergarten or they start preschool, hi, my nephews are here. Hey guys. Sure. Sorry about that.
Nope. We have a saying. I'm sorry, I didn't tell you about this saying, Mr. Bai. Live TV, so things happen. Go right ahead. Hey nephew. Hey cousin.
So I got a balcony in this room. They're like, "Can we go on a balcony?" I was like, "Sure, you go on the balcony." So when children come to school, right, and they start kindergarten, they take this test called the KRA, right, and the KRA essentially assess the hidden pedagogy, right? Do children know, how to ask for things, or does this child know what above, below, and behind means, right? And what this researcher said was that in the and I hate to call it the culture of poverty, right? But those of us who are living in impoverished conditions, or those of us who are living in middle class conditions where the parents are outside of the home working and they don't have that time to fully invest in those first 5 years of a child's life, that child is not given the opportunity to be inquisitive. So if I've worked all day as a single mother, which I was, right? And I come home to cook and my son decides that he wants to know, "Mommy, how does this work?" And I say, "Boy, go sit down. I got to get cooking. I have to cook. I don't have time to have that conversation." It shuts down the naturally inquisitive nature of our children, and it impacts their confidence. It impacts their desire to learn. School then becomes a chore and not something that they love, because the joy of learning is gone. We've essentially darkened our children's light by shutting them down when they're asking questions. Is also directly related to when they get older, and are you able to advocate for your needs? Are you going to be that child sitting in the classroom who really doesn't understand what's being said, but because you've asked questions before and you've been shut down, you won't say, "Can you do that again for me? I don't quite understand," or "Can you explain that again?" Questioning it is a cognitive process to ask a question, right? But then it's also a cognitive process to actually question the question, right? Actually develop questions on your own about content. And when children aren't encouraged to do that, it dampens that process for them and it hinders their growth.
Wow. Thank you. Nugget, Tyrone. Just nuggets. Tyrone, let's hear from the family. Any questions or comments from the family viewership? You're muted, my brother.
All right, I think you can hear me now, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, great. So of course we want to shout out those who are coming through. I'm working my devices. Y'all know as normal, we got a lot of folks coming through. Shout out to Denise, Didi, Kiana, Ayana, Marvin, Hannah, Eddie, Nataki, Tisa, Jerome, Warren. Just to shout out a few of y'all. I'm not calling out everybody else. Just to send some love to y'all. We do got a lot of thank yous for the principal, just saying thanks for the information. You can tell a lot of people are taking stuff in. And the one question that we do have thus far is, how can Principal Dubai train other principals, because they do not get this same energy or information from their principal?
Wow. So
Who was that? Wait. Tyrone, it is. Who was that?
This is Ayana who asked this question.
Thank you, Ayana. That's a great question.
I don't be creating more work for me. It's like, no, I'm joking. Relationships. I'm out here. Everybody tell you I'm out here, and I tell people I'm out here in the streets, right? And because of that, when we have our principal sessions and we're talking, and we build relationships with each other. And so I've kind of taken on, like, and mind you, I'm only a 3rd year principal, y'all. So I'm not a veteran by a long shot. Let me be forthcoming with that. I just operate a little bit differently because I grew up the way our children in Baltimore City grew up. So my level of investment in my why is a little bit different. It's a matter of life and death for me. And so when I'm having conversations with other principals and they're humble enough and care about the village enough to actually say, Dubai, how do you do such and such? Or, what are your ideas for such and such? And so some of my East Side principals, I'm on the East Side of Baltimore, have gotten together, and we have like a group chat, and, we email each other, and we really lean on each other and are open and honest with each other about things. As far as my time in the district, I'm not at a place yet where they'd be like, yeah, I want you to mentor, but people will call on me. And some of the principal supervisors will say, like, hey, I have a new principal in mind. I actually reached out. I was in a program called New Leaders, which is an alternative certification program for urban leadership. And so we have a cohort model. And so the cohorts that come behind us, we pin them, and, we're responsible for them. So that has kind of helped as well. I don't claim to know everything. I do things a little bit differently. But my doors are open to everybody, and I tell anybody that, like, come on over and visit, teachers, principals, like, come on and do what we do. And when we had those conversations, I end up learning more from them, and they just came to find out how the cafeteria was running. But we end up engaging in that dialogue and realize that, like, all of us have different strengths and different gifts and different talents. And the same way we talk about community advocacy, when if everybody can get in the room together opposed to folks working independently, we can gain a lot more momentum. I also have to give a shameless plug to ACOBEN, because they've been running Caring for Leaders circles every week. And spend an hour in circle with I have Andrea as our coach, with other principals, and have really open and honest conversations, and we've been able to lean on each other emotionally, but then also talk about the work, and it's really created some relationships with other principals that I wouldn't have had had I not had this particular group every week.
You, Brother Tyrone, you are muted again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Is it like echo behind me or something? Do y'all hear? Okay, I'm being mute. I don't know. Anyway, so she said she was raised in Baltimore, and as soon as she said she come from where the kids come from, the first comment I see is from Miss Carolyn Victorian, who is on Facebook like, that's my daughter. So that instantly made me think of Baltimore. And then also, just wanted to shout out Sharika Bolden for joining us. And she said Miss Dubai is coming through with the knowledge. You said a whole word with the information about the impact of shutting down kids' questions. So y'all, please keep the please keep the questions coming in the comments. Principal Debi, what really drives you? The infectious pride displayed at the fort. What role can your scholars play in this effort?
You know what, Tyrone? Before you answer that, Mr. Tyrone, you see, this is what I'm talking about, Tyrone. Every week, we get people asking better questions than we have scripted to ask. So let me just be quiet. Go ahead. Y'all just run the show. Go ahead.
Drives me is my love for my people. And when I say my people, I mean my people of Baltimore. I love this city. And my mom brought me here. She didn't bring me to Baltimore. To Glen Burnie. Let me be clear. I can't be in Glen Burnie High, but I found my way to the city. I'm a city girl. And I went to Morgan State University. I went to Johns Hopkins University. Um, I saw things here like our, 65% vacancy rate and was like, wow, like, or hearing people say, you need to get this education so you can get out of the hood. And I was like, no, we need to get this education so we can transform the hood and take the hood back. We need to be able to build up our communities. It's not about leaving. You leave and you leave with yourself. You're still taking you with you. All that pain, all that trauma, everything that you've experienced, you're still going to take that wherever you go. We are responsible for each other. And like when we talk about restorative practices, it's like each one is responsible for each one. I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. And so the infectious spirit that we try to develop at Fort Worthington is that even our scholars know that this is your sister and your brother. This is not competition. This is not a threat. This is not someone that you have to kill before they kill you. This is not about that. We're going to work in love. We're going to do everything in love. And so we came up with our pillars of success for our children to be able to rise, right? Our falcons are on the rise. And it was really important that, the adults that I have in front of those children believe in our children as much as I do. And that I know that, if you can live through what I lived through as a child and still turn out with a master's degree from Johns Hopkins and a bachelor's from Morgan and a school building that was built for our children, anything is possible, but we have to hold folks to high expectations. We have to breathe life into our children and speak life into our children and let them know that, there are no barriers, only challenges. Nothing's blocking you from anything. You're going to have experiences, but those experiences is going to sharpen you. Going to sharpen your skill set, going to have you real keen so that you can go on to your next thing. So our biggest push for Fort Worthington and, my driver is my love for my people, but also that I have eighth graders who leave my building equipped with whatever they need to be able to learn how to do anything they put their mind to. So that when you get a Fort Worthington scholar in high school, you're like, yeah, I want those Fort kids because they're coming with this, 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 this. And if they don't have it, they know how to ask for it. They know how to seek it out. They know how to connect with people, and they're going to be successful no matter what.
Thank you. Nuggets. Tyrone, anything else from the hotline? You mute. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Hi, mommy. I love you.
Yeah, they love you. Want to also give you your shout out from Senator Corey McCray.
Hey, Senator McCray. Listen, I'm gonna just say it. Senator McCray. Actually, he supports us. He has District 45 meetings for the principals, and like the brother plugs us in with resources. He had everybody there from the city, like all types of District 45 meetings for the principals. Puts us in a room with the right people, and I've never seen that from a politician. And I don't consider him a politician. I consider him a friend, but you don't see that from political figures. He rolls up his sleeves and he gets in the work with us, and he shows up for us consistently. And I really appreciate that because that's what that's about. We connect school, politics, religion, advocacy groups. If everybody's connected, our babies have everything that they need. So I appreciate you, Senator McCray.
But thank you, Senator, for watching. And here's another person sounds like Tyrone. Maybe we need to invite to our show. And we need more stories of people who are doing things like this, and people that are doing the right and doing the just thing. Many times are unheralded. Tyrone, I'm gonna ask this question about food to Principal Debi, and then we'll come back to the family. Mr. Debi, you talked at the beginning of the show. I've witnessed it myself of how you consistently, constantly, even with your mother not doing the best, even with family not doing the best, even with you being tired at the height of this COVID crisis period and moment, you continue to open the doors of the fort so that families, not just fort families, but families in the Berea community could come and have a constant, at least 1 day a week place where they could get some food. Um, can you tell us how you're going to help, or how people can sustain themselves, even if it's not through the fort? Any resources that people can have during the summer? You pointed out before that the school building for many families is the primary place where children get their meals.
Yes. And I mean, we have a family of 5. We have 3 children in school here. And it became real to me that we only eat 1 meal a day in the house. So we eat dinner together. So I shop according to what we cook for dinner. We might do a grab and go breakfast item, but aside from that, that's it. And now we're in a house all day. So, it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, any snacks. And so the grocery bill was like skyrocketing. But the other reality is I live in the middle of a food desert. So my school is in the middle of a food desert. We don't have like an actual market within a mile radius of the school, right? We have corner stores and bodegas, right? Stuff is marked up, is really expensive, not really nutritious options. So over the summer, there are going to still be a number of food pantries open, as well as emergency food sites for city schools. One of the resources that I use, and I'm actually one of the United Way leaders, is 211. So 211 is a resource where you call, and the United Way representative can actually connect you to pantries. And there are churches, there are different union offices that support their union members. Local I think it's 340 for BTU. I think their AFL-CIO thing. So their office on Patapsco, they do food pantry distribution for union members. 211 though has a bevy of resources, and you can call them and basically say, like, you might, even if you need furniture assistance or rent assistance or food, they can plug you with whatever organization can help you, and even give you a list. Um, Also, those pop-ups. So I post on my Instagram regularly, and my Instagram is at Principal Debi. And I post all of the food pantry flyers and distributions that I get. Also, families with children who are in school who receive free and reduced lunch. The federal government has provided a pandemic EBT, so that's access to SNAP benefits for every child who's eligible for free and reduced lunch. Baltimore City Schools was considered a Title I district some years ago, and so all of our children receive free lunch. So that means all of our children are eligible for the EBT card. And so they're backdating it back to March, and they're going to give it to you so long as the children are out of school. So I think it's $5.70 a day per child. So it came up to like $110 a month or something. And I think the first distribution is gonna be like $330 per kid. If you already receive SNAP benefits, it will go on your card. If you don't, it will be mailed to the address that we have on file at the school district. I would say, local churches, there'll definitely still be food sites open at schools, and those pop-ups. And I was trying to make sure I had everything on here. Yeah, and then community advocacy groups. So, groups like CASA and, Esperanza Center, those types of places in your neighborhood, just reaching out, making a phone call. If you don't have access to technology, I would definitely say call that 211 number. And they'll give you like pantries and the dates and stuff and times that are near your home.
Thank you. And will the fort be open for food distribution in the summer, or what's the city's take on that?
So we haven't received guidance on how they're going to handle the grab and goes. The 18 food sites is still up and running. We just did produce, and we'll do produce again next Wednesday. But we haven't received word back on the grab and go. But you know me, I make a way out of no way. So
I didn't want to say that, but yeah.
Sorry, Chief. But we'll get a word from those people. If I got some other people, we'll do what we make it do. But there's also a church, Greater Paradise Church, that's 2 blocks from us on Oliver Street. So we're 2701 Oliver Street. I believe they're like 2400 block. But they're close to the Edison Highway, and they do a pantry distribution on Wednesdays at 12. So if the school grab and go site is no longer up and running, we'll partner with them and get distribution down there. So either way, we'll have food for the Berea community.
Beautiful. Thank you. Tyrone from the hotline. Comments, questions?
Yeah, and comments. People are just so obviously, uh, this, of course, William. We have another teacher I've heard about, I've heard, been in her presence before, so I know a little bit. I'm not privy as much as you all are working with her, but a lot of people obviously love her and and know that she's totally committed to the work. Because that's what we're getting. We're getting a lot of comments and stuff. She's very passionate. Oh, sorry. Yeah, my technology will be right and tight next week. I don't know what is going on. I have to use my phone. I actually think it's my laptop though, because it's not letting me. Anyway, that Miss Dubai is very passionate, a very passionate leader. She's a former administrator of mine. Hi, Miss Dubai, and that comes from Karen Thomas Ginyard. And so that's, getting a lot of love shown to her. We do have one question from another group. Y'all know I'm working my couple of devices here. And it is, Miss Dubai, how do you react to parents? How do you react to parents wanting to be more involved?
I welcome parents who want to be more involved. I just said I was at a cookout last night, and I was talking to a parent that was another school, and he was really upset about the fact that he's a single father and doesn't feel like the school has enough opportunity for him to actually serve. So as I shared earlier, we have an open door policy. We established the PTO when I got to the school and was actually able to have a PTO president from our pre-K feeder school. Her child transitioned and she became our PTO president. And so we don't make any decisions on the school level without our parent input. We have a PTO president, but we also have a board chair who's actually a community advocate in our neighborhood. I'm gonna do a shameless plug, LaMarcus Dent, who's our chair for our PTO. And so he has a direct connection. He's on the ground. And so we're constantly engaged in conversation with the parents. And parent engagement is more than a bake sale. There's actually a book titled there, right? Going beyond the bake sale. And so when our parents want to get involved, the first question we ask is like, how do you want to become involved? And so when we have our open and Title I meeting in the beginning of the school year, which coincides with our back to school night, our parents fill out a survey. A lot of parents think that in order to participate in the school process, they have to actually be in the school building. And that's not true. You may work a 9 to 5 like I do, and I can't ever go on a field trip. However, I may be able to take some items home and prepare them for a classroom, or I may have some connections in the community and I can get lanyards for the kids, right? So we do this survey in which parents can say, like, what gifts and talents they have, what times of day they could possibly support. We really kind of changed what engagement looks like. And I want to say change. I think we've broadened the term enough that parents are able to see that it's not just about volunteering in my child's classroom. It's not just about being a chaperone on a trip, or it's not just about ushering the talent show, but I can serve in many, many different ways. And so providing that list of ways that parents can serve to them, and then also garnering information about when they're available, has markedly increased the amount of engagement that we've been able to have at the fort. Also, seizing opportunities to share information. So our talent show every year is like a huge hit. Our Halloween Fest, our Boo Fest, and my PTO president, Ms. Chantel Manning, does this Boo Fest, and it's open to the entire community. It's not just our children. So we literally have like 1,500 people on our entire first floor. It's like massive. But because people come out for things like that, we'll insert some resources in there. We'll have a resource fair while this is going on. We'll share information. And then we have those conversations, like, how a parent say, well, I make tutus, can I make tutus for the girls for it? And I'm like, yes, you can make tutus. And so that further develops relationships. So we're really open. And, some parents come with ideas that we didn't even know could be on our engagement list. Could you use somebody to braid girls' hair, twice a month? And I was like, oh my God, I never thought about that. Yes, let's do it. But you really have to be an open and receptive leader to think outside of just those traditional ways of engaging families.
Absolutely, and I can vouch for that. And Tyrone, I know we talk about this in our meetings sometimes. That parents go to schools and they're just shoved into the cafeteria. I will make the disclaimer that if you come to the fort and you're a parent, you do not get shoved into the cafeteria unless you want to be. Otherwise, like Mr. Ba said, there are so many things that you can do, and she does encourage parental ideas.
We have some aunties who love the cafeteria. They've been with us for 3
That's
years.
true. That's true. But that's because that's where they love to be. Absolutely. Tyrone, anything else from the family there?
Okay, had to unmute. No, just more love. 100. She's getting up hundreds. People are showing love. So if you have something else specific that little one of your little silly questions, because the guests come with the best ones. You can go ahead. But yeah, it's love to. I would just like to say, thank you again as an educational advocate, of course, as Baltimore City Public School parents and helping to create PTOs throughout the city and do stuff. I mean, it is amazing to be able to hear, from a principal, that we talk about, like kind of the model in which we talk about all the time, right? That's needed in schools. Like this is absolutely, one of the model principles that I would say is needed across Baltimore City, when coming in, talking about meeting people where they are and also including them in that facet. We hear from parents so much that they don't feel accepted and they're not utilized, and or they're not as important because they work a job and can't come. But to hear a principal say that's not true, you could be utilized after work, outside of work, and people want to hear that. So I don't know. I think we need to figure out some type of guide or something and let her write it out, and have parents share with other principals. I'm serious. Like, I'm dead serious. If we could say, like, these are things that we know are working over here. Let's try this here. You know what I mean? Like, I think can make a huge difference. I know I personally, I've had one principal that was, pretty, open like her. And that's when I was able to do the guys on corners for like a 10-block radius, where we protect the kids going to school. And that was because the principal was, open. Like, you don't get that openness from principals anymore, because one bad thing happened or one bad parent cussed them out. It's like we're cutting everybody else off. But not knowing that you're actually losing out on a lot of resources. So I thank you personally for what you're doing. And I know a lot of your staff members that speak very highly of you. And obviously a lot of old folks who know you, your mother, and family members who feels great about you as well. So you got to be doing something right. Thank you.
Thank you.
That'll move me into my last question, and then we can maybe the family will have another one. But Mr. Bai, on a serious note, and a note that sometimes in our community we're afraid to talk about, but is nonetheless true, nonetheless important, and nonetheless very much existent, and that's mental health care services. And speaking to how do families get providers? Where can families go? What is your advice? And what you have modeled is that the academic portion of the school building is not sufficient in and of itself. And not even the family and community side of a school building is not sufficient in and of itself. But you also need, a word that you use, cohesiveness, when it comes to having the parents, the children, and the staff all on the same wavelength when it comes to relationship. And so with mental health being is prominent and becoming more prominent. I believe I heard you say recently that because of COVID, a lot more traumas that maybe would have been dissipated because the kids aren't in the house or because the parent aren't in the house, maybe have been magnified in this time. So, what are your thoughts?
Um, hmm. So I personally have been impacted by COVID. I didn't have it myself, but some very close family members, and the level of anxiety that I felt was extremely high because I'm a caregiver. So if my auntie is sick, I'm going to take care of my auntie, and if my mommy is sick, I'm going to go get what she needs. I'm going to take care of her. And the reality was, I have a child with severe asthma, and I can't go take care of my mother and bring anything back home. And that then turned into some depression, right? Because now I'm sad because I can't do anything about it, and I'm a doer. Um, People naturally seek connection. We are tribal people. We are used to being around the collective, and all of us being shuttered in homes for so long, right? Had to like really face some harsh realities. Either you're living with an abuser, and you didn't even know they were an abuser, or you knew they were an abuser, and now you have to incur that trauma every day. Not being able to see other people, not being able to connect with other people. And so some lingering mental health issues have been exacerbated, but then there are some who just discovered that they have some mental health issues and don't have anywhere to seek help. One of the sites that I follow closely is the um, Maryland Behavioral Health Administration, and it's a website. They have links to needs and services, and then you can even go a step further and specifically what do you need help with? Is it grief and loss? Is it depression? Is it anxiety? Is it I just don't know? I don't feel like myself. Um, One thing I do know that is in the Black community, and we say this all the time, mental health is taboo, right? You hear people say, oh, that's not for us. We don't go to no psychologist. Like, that's for crazy people. And we are inflicted with so much trauma. Lives in our DNA. Trauma lives in our genetic code. Like, let's be real. Um, and because of that, some situations may be a catalyst for some stuff that we don't even know we have inside of us. And so it's very, 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 very important to get that help, even if it's just to talk to someone. And so that site, again, is Maryland Behavioral Health Administration. I have partners that I use myself. I don't want to be biased and say, like, names, but I'm gonna just go ahead and put it out there. Agobin is our restorative practices partnership, but we also have a partnership with All Walks of Life LLC, as well as Global Health Systems. I'm a huge supporter of culturally responsive mental health support. And what I mean by that is I don't feel like you can help me if you don't understand my conditions. If you don't understand my lived experience, you can't help me. Now, you may be a clinician and you may understand how the brain works, but your studies may have been grounded in Freudian context, right? And he doesn't understand me as a Black woman. So I would say when you are seeking support, seek out someone that is relational, seek out someone who can understand your context and who can understand your level of trauma, and that they're able to meet you where you are and not on this strictly clinical level, if that makes sense. We have a mindful moment room at our school. We have a partnership with Holistic Life. So our children are learning mindfulness. They're learning strategies, and I'm hoping that even during this period of time, that they were teaching their parents how to breathe. When 2 + 2 didn't equal 4, and the parent starts yelling and says the problem again, and the kids now like, oh my God, right, shutting down. But our children have learned how, and even our staff have learned how to decompress and de-escalate and turn within, right? And be able to listen to that still small voice within, even when you're going through conflict. And those tools will be definitely helpful as we address our mental health. And then, like, even the things that our babies are seeing on TV right now. I have an 11-year-old son. I have nephews. My other nephew is 10, and my other nephew's 5. And the question becomes, am I next? How do you answer a child? How do you tell a little Black boy, no, you're not next, right? And we have friends that are police officers. Like, we're friends with police officers, and it's like, well, so and so, and they wouldn't hurt you, but all they're seeing on TV. And so, what is that doing to the psyche of a child when they feel like they can't go outside without being murdered? So I beseech you, I beg of you, get help. Like, our lives were not, this is not normal. None of this was normal. And I don't think anybody's been able to make this normal. So definitely get help, definitely talk to somebody, definitely seek out help. There's hotlines galore. With Baltimore City employees, I know we have a lot of teachers on here. EAP, your first few sessions are free. It's confidential due to HIPAA, so they can't call up district office and say, "Hey, Debai's crazy. She called and said this stuff." Like, they can't do that, so it's all confidential. So if you're feeling something, please, by all means, get some support.
Wow. Go ahead.
So it's on me, William, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, great. No, we're wrapping up. So again, the love for Mr. Debi is real. More love coming up for, but then also Dina, who's one of our regulars, say thank you for bringing up mental health. It's very important right now to remove the stigma. And her comment is getting like a bunch of likes. But then also, so the way that you speak about, and obviously it is, we're hearing it, like Fort Worthington seems to be the real definition and is acting the way that a community school should act. How do you encourage other community schools to, begin to make that shift to really, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to pick my words carefully, because I don't want like I'm dogging out other schools, but we do have a lot of other community schools that just does not, act in the way that, Fort Worthington do. So how do you, as a leader and clearly doing all of that, how do you help or advise other schools, to begin to do that shift, take that culture shift to really becoming a community school?
I think it helps for school leaders and staff to fully understand the community school model. I know that a lot of community schools are community schools by name, and they think that, like, oh, we have food pantry days, and we have a doctor that visits every 6 months. We're a community school, and it's like, no, like, right. But of course, I'm biased because I attended a community school as a child, right? My first middle school career was at a community school, Green Street Academy. And my principals, both Cosley and Crystal Lindsay, believed in the community concept and believed in the village concept. So I'm a little biased, right? Because I've seen it work. But what I would say is, first, education. Educating yourself on what a community school should. And we all make it our own. So there's some schools in California that are like way beyond what I'm doing at Fort Worthington. And I was like, dang, like, I gotta get on my game. There's some schools here who haven't made it anywhere near where we're supposed to be, right? So definitely educating yourself on the model, getting out to see other community schools in action. I have a community school coordinator, Justin Hunt. I'll be telling everybody name, who is like my thought partner in things. And so it's not just about securing resources, but we also need to understand, what do our families need? What does our community need? And if you're not having those questions and engaging in that needs assessment process, right, you don't know what your school community needs. And so you might decide to do a health resource fair, and your community don't need no health resource fair. This month they need food. Or, you may decide to do a shoe drive and don't even know that your kids need coats. So those relationships and those conversations and, that connection has enabled our parents to say, like, hey, Mr. Debi, I wanted to get a job, and I realized I need a GED or something. So now we got a GED program at the school. The parents like, oh, I heard 3 people got their GED. And I was like, well, we won it. And so we graduated another 15 the following. So it really goes back to like connection and understanding that the church is no longer, and somebody's going to argue with me, and I don't care if you argue with me about this, but I'm going to say it. The church is no longer the hub of the community. People used to be able to go to the church for everything, right? churches don't, not all churches function like that anymore. The school has now become that place, and we have to keep that going. And that means that our families should be able to come and say, Mr. Bach, can you help me fill out this job application? Or, we haven't had laundry detergent for weeks. Can you help us out? So we got laundry mat in the school, right? The kids bring their uniform to the school. I think really understanding that you are the hub of the community. You are the place where everybody should be able to come, whether school is in session or not. They know that this is a safe space. They know that if we don't have what they need, we're going to find someone who has what they need, right? And I tell new teachers, I talk to a lot of new teachers all the time, know your kids by name and need, get to know them and know exactly what they need in their household, right? Because if we can build strong homes, the work that we do in school is no longer futile, because now it's going to be a continuity of care, right? We can teach children how to mitigate conflicts in school, and we've trained parents on how to mitigate conflict at home, so everybody's using the same language, right? I feel when you, right, because now the parent has the language and the kid has the language. That's how we build up healthy and strong kids. But if there's this disconnect, and it's just, oh well, we did donuts with dads and muffins with moms, we're a community school, that's not it, and I still feel like we have a far way to go, like a far way to go. But when I tell you relationships mean everything, I'm gonna give you an example because she's actually in the room with me right now. But my secretary has like parent mentees, like they go to her her
Shout out to General McCoy is in the house. General McCoy.
So like she just came in the room, I was like, but listen, she does motivational speaks, and we speak speeches, and we had parents like who are actually like taking 3 buses to get there because they believe in that relationship and they felt like they've grown. And then when their babies even leave our school, they're still like texting us and calling us because we have that relationship. That's what it's about. That's what's going to transform the village. Everybody being responsible for everybody.
Tyrone, I don't know what left to say. I have family. Mr. Ba has come and has just given you all a range, not only of her thoughts, but actionable steps and resources that you could take and take advantage of, starting now, throughout the summer and beyond. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Monique Debi, for coming on and sharing of yourself and being an example, obviously, as people have attested to what a right principal is doing, someone that's really holding up the community above themselves and standing with our parents and with our kids in the trenches. So we really appreciate you and thank you. Tyrone, we're gonna have to book Mr. Debi again, especially, some elapsed time, maybe when when the school year begins again.
Without a doubt, I think maybe even before this. So
yeah,
I mean, we did principals, and we did teachers, we've done parents and students on which the school. I mean, I'm just thinking if she dropping all of this and so into the needs of the community, which is amazing. Like, I'm pretty sure she got to be on the right page of opening schools back up. So I would like to see her back about that before, schools even open, and like what could and should it look like once we talk about opening schools from an administrative, standpoint, because, again, we've had the teachers and parents and students, but, let's hear from an administrator that clearly cares and understand the needs of, the people in her commit, in the school in which she served, I think would be.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I mean, once we receive official word on what's gonna happen, and what it's gonna, we have suggestions right now. We built the plane while it was flying. Nobody was prepared for this. We don't have a model for you. Right. They did it this way here, like nobody knows. So I know our district is working feverishly to get a plan together, but again, it's all the contingent upon what happens with this disease.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Bai. We really, truly appreciate it. Shout outs to Rebecca for the great questions that we helped pose to Mr. Bai, who just was, this is family, this is the level of commitment, and then we're going to end. But, we talked to Mr. Bai about the show. Mr. Bai was asking us, is there anybody else you want me to help? Is there anybody else you want me to make? Is there any more research I can find? I mean, that's the level of dedication that she has to not only Baltimore City, not only our family, but to people in general. So thank you so much. Join us on Thursday at Tyrone's house. Mr. Bai, you're welcome to come at 5:00. The same Zoom channel, or we get you the information. Tyrone is the host. He talks, I shut up, and it's a beautiful flowing conversation with parents and anybody and everybody. Am I right, Tyrone?
Now, do you believe William shut up?
You see, family, y'all see how he did? That's okay, because I'm gonna talk to him after the show. That's okay, family. Nah.
Please join us. I miss Thursdays. I got so many comments. Had some issues. Stuff is incorrect. It's back corrected Thursday. Yes, please join us. We are there rocking.
All right, family. So thank you so much for hanging in. We know it's 6:10. We went over because it was crucial that you heard everything that Mr. Bai had to say. Thank you for your comments, your questions. Please continue to show up, talk to people about the show. If you find that we are giving you good information or ideas or anything, or if you have ideas, as Tyrone has said many, many times, please contact us. We love to hear from you. But that's all I have. Peace and blessings to you, family. See you next Monday, 5:00.
Take care.